All right, what is up, sports fans? Back for another episode of Brotherly Love. I'm your host, Steve Rochelle, here on the Sports Podcast Network. Get a little bit rebranding. Been a little bit since we did an episode. Got a lot of stuff to unpack this week, and who better to unpack it with than Eagles beat reporter, NewJersey.com, the man himself, Mr. Chris Franklin. Chris, thanks for your time this afternoon. And how you feeling, man? It's the initial craziness of what the start of the free agency signing, the offseason trades galore, signings galore, big stars in new places all over the place. When you look at at it as a whole, when we're looking at the what this offseason was, a lot of teams got better, and I think very few teams didn't make a lot of noise. I mean, obviously we could dump on the Cowboys right now if we want to, but a lot of teams got better. The Jets got better all around. Not just from the recent news of the Reddick trade and things of that nature. Get Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh, and then not shortly after having Justin Fields follow him there too. Very interesting quarterback room in there. Like I said, a lot of splashes this offseason. What were some of the things that kind of took you back that you were really surprised about?
Well, first of all, Steve, thank you very much for having me back on. I appreciate being on, but this has been a hectic. Even though I thought it was going to be busy, I didn't foresee it being this many impact moves to do this. And I think it just goes to show you the parity that you see in both conferences now, where it's a certainty. Sure, you have the Chiefs with being a dominant team there, but I think you look at that second tier where you look at the Jets now with the Aaron Rodgers coming back. You look at even the Houston Texans. You look at all that. And then the NFC side, you see the Lions, you see the 49ers, and even the Eagles now. I think a lot of teams see themselves as potentially making that surprise run and make it a potential Super Bowl run with it being so close. They're looking to invest a lot of money. One position I didn't expect to get this much money that we see now is the running back spot. You not only Saquon Barkley, you look at even Derrick Henry, you look at DeAndre Swift. I didn't foresee him getting $8 million a year. That shocked me a little bit of that. But I think you're seeing a bigger emphasis on the run game. And now you're seeing, I think a lot of these teams are willing to make these risks to make these big trades and signings because they know they have a shot now, given how much parity there is in this league.
The parity, and like you said, the running backs thing, it was a big surprise. And I don't think it's even been mentioned. Like, everyone wants to talk about Barkley. Come here. The Eagles did offer a contract to DeAndre Swift. That's not just a rumor, Chris. That happened.
It did happen. I don't think it was as strong as the one that they offered Barkley. I think when you look at what you can get with Barkley, not only getting a 3-down back, not only are you getting a good receiving back, but Swift was a good receiver as well too. You have a guy who has one of a kind ability to make people miss in the open field, and who can accelerate through the initial wave that comes through that defensive line. So when you look at that, you look at the availability. You don't have to worry about getting a platoon plus one. I'll say that with Swift, and then also worry about Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott was being sprinkled in. You now have a guy who can be on the field, and that helps out everybody so much. Not only do you work out, and it helps out AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, it keeps defenses honest, so that way hey, you know what? If they run more pistol or one single back and the traditional 7-yard back, which I hope they do now, because I think you can play the play action off of that. I think you have a lot of that stuff now. It's just overall, you don't have to worry about shuffling in different packages and the running back and worry about a pass block and all that stuff. You have the guy now, and sure, you're going to get Gainwell and whoever comes back as the third one in that rest. But yeah, I think that was worth it. That's why he paid him that much.
Love what DeAndre did last year, and it sucks. My son bought his jersey last season. He's like, "Oh, first one with a 0. I got to get this one." Yep. Want to being get the hometown boy. Thinking it was something that was gonna be a little bit long term. Like you said, I don't think it was as strong as the Chicago offer, and then obviously you go and arguably take the most explosive guy in free agency off the board from a rival, then everything that came about after that. Oh, we were tampering. I'm like, hey, wait, how are we tampering if we already offered Swift the contract first? Not only that the Bryce Huff signing broke before the Saquon Barkley signing. So if that was the case, that means we would have tampered with Bryce Huff as well, right?
And the Bears with Swift because
the back and forth with him and Tiki. That was, I mean, it's fun stuff for us to kind of look back on it, as everything's kind of calmed down. But I mean, you kind of get why there's a little back and forth between Tiki and Saquon in the New York media. It was bound to happen.
Yeah, I love it too. To me, it was funny. It was like when DeAndre Swift was before everybody, and you see like, oh, you like this number? I like it too. Point down to a 0.75, whatever it was down here. Oh, you want this type of? I think that works too. All of a sudden, they're done in 20 minutes. Nah, come on now. Like, everybody doesn't matter who gets caught. And I think when you look at this I have no concrete sources or stories or anything else saying that one, but I think it's one of the things when all is said and done, I don't think you'll see any action taken against the Eagles. And that's, I wish I could be like concrete. Like, oh, I heard from this such and such, and that one too. It's all secondhand, so I don't want to put it out there. But I think when all said and done, I think the Eagles will get off the hook on this one too. It's all it's going to do is just add another notch to that Eagles Giants rivalry. It's going to happen next year.
I think it brings life to it because if you really think about it, outside of like Miracle Meadowlands 2 and everything like that, people have long forgotten that this is kind of our biggest rivalry. We despise the Cowboys nation so much and their fan base so much that it kind of gets boiled to the top a little bit more than your legit upstate rival, who probably should be a little bit more of a rivalry because it's been one of the long-standing rivalries in the NFL, the Eagles and the Giants. But I think it's interesting. I agree with just about everything you're mentioning. Saquon's going to make everything easier for how this offense is. We expect it to run coming into this coming season, and it's just he's a Swiss Army knife, man. It's going to be interesting to see how Kellen Moore is going to be able to have all these toys. I don't think Kellen Moore's ever had this. He was up there in Dallas, and they had some fun up there. I don't think he's ever had this many weapons, man.
It's close. I mean, when you think about Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, pre-injury Gallup, and he had Zeke probably a year before he had the downturn, and then also he had Pollard. That's pretty close. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. It's pretty close. But the thing I like about it is when he has had it, he's turned it into one of the top either the top offense or one of the top 10 all type of offenses when you look at the total yards per game. So he's proven that. I mean, last year was an aberration, I think, mainly because you had Justin Herbert with his injury and Easton Stick of all people was coming in to replace the Chargers and lead that team. But when he's given pieces, he's proven that he can make the most out of it.
Now, I think the thing that I don't think a lot of Eagles fans really question is, now he's got all these new toys. He's supposed to be the new guy in this offense. What happens if they are super successful this year? Super Bowl win, run, etc. And another one where he does so great of a job, and boom, he gets a head coach offer that he hasn't had yet. He's been one of these guys that's been on the cusp. This is why he gets brought in, because he every time he gets there, just for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten that opportunity. It's another reason why a guy like Kellen Moore comes here. Is because it's like, hey, I'm going to get some more eyes on me in Philly. They one of the better offenses over the last handful of years. It's an exciting opportunity. You think that's anything that Eagles fans should worry about? That we should at least have him for 2 years at least?
I think it's one of the things where they're in a position that because Nick doesn't call the plays, so you're going to come with this every year. It's almost like they become the new Alabama in a way where Alabama, you look down there, they have an offensive coordinator comes in. Okay, they do well. Okay, yeah, they're a head coach somewhere else. Okay, they get used to that one. And that's why, if anything, you have to continue to build your depth on that coaching roster. That was the one thing I thought they addressed it last year before Brian Johnson bringing him up, and they have some of those systems. But we saw what happened. It didn't really prove the thing. Doug Nussmeier, does he look like an offensive coordinator candidate? Yet to be seen. I haven't seen long term with him doing that. So I look at that and you think, yeah, it's something you have to worry about down the line. But I think they'll trade the wins and a potential Super Bowl. Say if they go to the Super Bowl and they win it, I think they'll trade that one. Go, all right, thank you very much for your services, Keldon. See you later. And It goes like a conveyor belt. They remember remember how we talking about Joker Rally as a quarterback factory. They need to be offensive coordinator factory, coaching factory, because if you continue to have success you do, you're going to get your chances here. And I think that's a big selling point that they do to bring him in here as well too, and some of these other top names that you'll see down the line.
I mean, obviously, he wasn't one of these guys that was at the top of my list, but like that, I think it makes sense on that for everyone. It makes sense for Kellen. It makes sense for us what we're trying to do, but in the immediate future and things of that nature. But getting back to free agent, what are some of the things that I think that a lot of some of the minuscule things that you're picking up a guy like Matt Hennessy to kind of be a utility knife on that offensive line, getting him into Stadberg University, so to speak, and giving the Eagles an option, if there's an injury or if people feel like Cam isn't up to it, where he could slide around and move around and do some things. Do you like that signing, bringing Hennessy in?
I think they needed it too, especially with Opeta and Driscoll leaving. You need a guy, and that's one thing that Stoutland has said in the past. He makes that an emphasis, especially if you're going to have a roster spot on his team. You need positional flexibility. And in fact, you have a guy who used to be a former starting center that can play guard if necessary too. He lined up at left guard for a game. I believe it was a game, 2 games or a couple games or spot times with the Falcons. And you have a guy who's center because you don't know what's going on with Cam Jurgens as well too. Say if he gets hurt, and you don't want to upset Dickerson, like the continuity of moving Dickerson over the center. To have a guy like Hennessy, that definitely helps. It's a good depth piece to have on there. I still think they drafted offensive lineman probably early. I'm surprised it's the first round, so that gives them more depth and also that positional flexibility. Playing as a guy to play guard now and move out to tackle eventually when Lane Johnson retires. So Hennessy for now, I think is good. So basically, you have Fred Johnson, Hennessy. Maybe you bring up one of those guys you were trying to develop down the line. Maybe LaRaven Clark has something to do with it. Toth, but we've seen what happened with Toth beforehand as well. Still think so. I wouldn't be surprised if they addressed. There's a couple more pieces, a couple of signings for the draft may come down the line.
You touched on it right there, Chris. I think that's everyone's sitting there saying, "Oh, they're going to go corner. They're going to do this and that." I'm like, listen, offensive line's happening. If one of those guys happen to fall, I guarantee you they're going to make a move to try to get up and go get one of the linemen that they value.
Yep, it is. I look at Amarius Mims from Georgia and Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Those are the two guys I think would fit very well. The fact they both had top 30 visits definitely I think is very telling. And the one thing I do, the two teams you got to really worry about to trigger a potential trade down, I'd probably say too. I think the only way to trade up is to say if an edge rusher starts to fall. But even then, you have 5 edge rushers. You don't want to put BG on like in that, make him active. You don't want to put Nolan Smith in active. It's just a weird situation. But like you do that with like say if you do a 3rd, 4th round, you draft guy, okay, you get a 1st round pick. Yeah. That's why I think more and more, if say a Mims goes at 20 to the Steelers and then Guyton goes 21 to the Dolphins, I think that they just go like, you know what? Trade down, recoup a 3rd round pick that you don't have anymore again. But if you get a Pickett trade, and then still get a guy that you can still use that for, again. So there's so many avenues, and that's the thing. I think free agency set them up to be this unpredictable in the draft because you don't necessarily have a true needy. I think I wouldn't put it out. I seriously wouldn't put it past him that Bradbury's back on the roster next year because of the way he's had these offered 1 years. I wouldn't put it past. Like I seriously think he's going to be back on the roster at least through OTAs. I'll put it that way. But when you have when you address so many things in free agency, it makes you very unpredictable. And I can see them either trade. I can see them trade up to all the way up to 15 and maybe even 13, dangling that second round pick. Or I can see them trade back as far as 27, 28, recouping some more pick. There's so much they can do now. How he has so much flexibility.
Yeah, this is another one of those drafts where Howie has to hit. I think the Trotter thing might be out. Just a simple fact when they go get Devin White and you still have Nakobe Dean on the roster and things of that nature. When they signed Devin White, I think it almost spoke to the end of going after Trotter with one of those 2nd round picks. Do you think it still might happen though?
See, for Trotter, I think it was just a fit thing for a scheme. I thought it was very telling. We spoke to Howie on that Monday during the annual league meeting. It was very telling when he was talking about Devin White. And he said the one thing that Vic really likes about in his offense is that his defense. Ooh, I was moving aside. I was Juan Castillo. I'm sorry about that. But when you look at the way that he does, he loves the versatility that the linebacker brings. Somebody who could rush the passer, somebody who could drop back in the cover, somebody who could rush for the edge, and then also traditionally, play the traditional linebacker role. And when I hear all that stuff, a guy like Edgerrin Cooper is the one that really, to me, fits the mold for that. Or Peyton Wilson. Those are the two guys that come to mind. Like I'll go Cooper 1, but something tells me I would have had him pegged at 50. He's rising. I wouldn't be the team that I worry about. The Cowboys jumping the Eagles to try to draft him. He's rising up in that top. But Wilson got in NC State. I think he's another guy that can fit that type of mold. Trotter to me, I like his athleticism. I like his ability to time the blitz well. You got that. You definitely got that as an old man. But I just don't know the coverage aspect of it, especially when you see the sideline, especially the way when you look at Vic Fangio's defense, where there's instances where it's like a Tampa 2, you play man-to-man underneath. I don't feel as comfortable as those other two, of him being in there as those other two. If he's still lingering around there, and he start dropping in the late second round and goes to the third round, I'm kind of thinking like, maybe you take a shot at it? But other than that, I don't know if he's going to be.
Like I said, what they already have, plus what the changes to the defense by bringing Vic in and the style that he runs. I said as soon as they signed Devin White, I'm like, that's the end of that. As much as we would love to, not only had Dad here, but get Junior here too. I mean, it's a nice story for Eagles fans and things of that nature, but don't always work out that way. You're gonna have to kind of let go of that thing and just go with where your guys are gonna have needs at. I still think I wouldn't be surprised to see a tight end grabbed in the first 3 picks. Just the simple fact that they're getting to that point where this is around the same time where they drafted Goddard when they were in the same situation with Zach. We all love Zach and things of that nature, and how we kind of had a thumb on the situation where he was getting ready to transition and knew it was time to draft Dallas. So wouldn't be surprised to see them go get a tight end that could there's so many different things that they could do. And like you said, they drafted so many needs in free agency. I think some of the biggest questions that we have coming into the season, do you feel like both of the Georgia boys in the middle are going to be fine with the presence of a Fletcher Cox not being there anymore? Obviously, you lose Hargrave last year. I think not a lot of people are really talking about it, but you got to throw Milton Williams in that mix. This is I guess his time to shine too as well. So with our young defensive tackles, do we feel like they're going to perform at the level that we had Fletch for that run, or do you feel like these guys are rotational guys?
I think they're good to go. The one thing when Jordan Davis, I just want to see him work on lasting for the whole entire season, and basically just the work, not so much just the working out and everything. So now I just want to make sure that he's healthy enough to last through that one as well too. He's been nicked up a couple of times now. As effective as, especially as the nose on there, is going to be really important, because I think when you look at that base defense that Fangio runs, they run a lot. It's a 3-4 look, even though it's like the 4-3 stuff he mixes around. They run that 3-4 look, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of Milton Williams, who I think is going to be breakout years. Contract year, he's been ascending each year he's going to. I'm really looking forward to him seeing more snaps as well too. And then Jalen Carter, we know what he's done, like Davis as well too. I just want to see him work on that little endurance aspect of that too. I think he hit a little bit of a rookie wall, but once he was going, we saw what he's capable of before he hit that wall. So I like what I see in that 3-man rotation in defensive tackle. I just think they need more depth. And Marlon Tuipulotu, say what you will about him, okay, you got that too. But I just want to see one more pass rushing defensive tackle. I mean, maybe Omaro Ojomo. Maybe he comes in here. He really fills that role last year. Goes into his second year and maybe he does as well too. But I just think they need one more defensive tackle to help out in that rotation, especially on pass down. But the linchpin of that whole entire defense, whether it be the run game or the passing attack, they need Jordan Davis to occupy 2 offensive linemen at a consistent rate and remain healthy the whole entire season. If not, you saw there's a wall. House of cards collapsing. Linebackers get beaten. Offensive linemen get to the linebackers at second level. you're not getting as effective. You're not that drawing that second lineman, so the edge rushers have to take a wider route around, getting the ball fast. So Jordan Davis to me is going to be the linchpin of that whole entire defense.
Yeah, the kids are really going to get leaned on this year, and obviously, the end of last week, the big news broke, and you get a potential second round from the Jets. What looks like is going to be post Rodgers, so that should be a good pick. But I think a lot of fans are upset because it felt like there could have been a deal that they could have gotten done with them. I just didn't see it was going to happen. The fact that he was getting 15 this year and he wanted to be paid like a top 5 edge rusher. It just, you weren't going to pay him $23-25 million a year over the next 3 years when you have everything else that you need to go long term. Is it going to be hard to replace his numbers? Absolutely, because he was a pillar of consistency. You knew you were going to get upwards of 10 sacks from him. He was a pressure monster and he was a complete disruptor. That's who Hassan Reddick is. It's going to be hard for a Nolan Smith to fill those shoes, and it's going to be hard because Josh Sweat gets to restructure his contract and stay, and the Philly fans are yelling, "Oh, you did it to us again! You Jimmy Butler us!" I'm like, it's not even the same thing. Jimmy Butler being kept over Tobias and Ben Simmons and Josh getting his contract restructured.
Yeah, and when I look at that, I think for me, I know it's maybe not popular. I would have kept him even for that 1 year. Like how many times have we heard that this locker room is really tight? How this locker room is really one of the better ones in the league. And from knowing Hassan back from his Temple days to even now, it wouldn't have. I don't think he would have been destruction locker room. Would he been upset with the front office? Yeah. Would he been talking with them, the front office, going, yeah. But I still think when push came to shove, I think he still would have been able to go on that field and he would have tried his hardest, and I think he still would have gotten double-digit sacks. And for at least 1 year, you'd have him with this rotation, and you're really throwing bullet after bullet or bullet from those edges. It would have made this defense
Yeah, I agree.
look like 2022. You got to keep. I don't get
it. You'd have had full blown shotgun shells to be thrown at the ends with the rotation you were going to be able to pull off.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's one of these things where it's like, I guess it's one. It's seeing what what's going to come. Like the Giants should have traded Saquon Barkley, or if they were going to offer Daniel Jones that contract, got nothing back for him in the return. We just watched that happen. We're like, you know what? I want to get something back for this, and to get what it counts is probably going to be a high 2 in 2025. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that risk.
See, the thing that worries me is I can see it coming down to the last week. Is a couple things. One, say the Jets are running away with the division, and all of a sudden, Hassan, I want you to be a little fresh for the playoffs. And you start pulling through that, and it's below 6.45, just a little bit.
Playing with those percentages, right?
Yeah, because I think I think he's going to get the sack total. Is when his percentage of snaps coming. That's what's like, and you're out. You don't have that control now. That's you're at the will of the Jets, and I can see that happening. And it's like, okay, or say the Jets have their issues, Aaron Rodgers or what have you, the offense sputters, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, and all of a sudden now it's all going at the thing. Because reason we got to look at that is if the Jets' offense is all together, they can put up points. They can jump up on teams, and then that gives Reddick the more chances to go and run it out. If there's a lot of close games where they find themselves behind, maybe he's not on the field as much because the teams are trying to run the ball down their throats. So that's where it's another thing. Like you're at the will of the Jets and how they're playing and everything else in order to get that. Because to me, I'm not so sure it's going to be a second. It's too many variables there. I mean, if it belongs to be a second, yeah, it's nice. But to me, it could be a low end, like toward the end of the second round. Could be a third rounder where you're picking near the end of that one. And I'm talking way further. We don't know what's going on there, but you may have to trade back to third to get a couple picks and then move top of fourth. There's so many variables there that I'm like, was it really worth giving up 27 sacks over 2 seasons for a potential second rounder, which could still really very be third.
I mean, and not just
It's
that,
tough to do. You
you know,
can't
you
find those type
go
of pass
and
rushers everywhere.
you go and you sign Bryce Huff at the beginning of this free agency period and gave him good money. So, do you
Yeah,
think that Howie, this gamble that he's kind of played here, I guess, with going to bank on a guy like Bryce Huff, who has amazing numbers when he's in, right? He was obviously a rotational guy. What do you think this is a gamble that's going to pay off? Do you think Bryce Huff is going to be able to match that energy output?
I have my questions with Huff. When it came to the Huff sign, I had reservations about it, not because of the pass rush. He was great when he was situational wise. He was great. 10 sacks for that little bit of else for that. I should say little for that time he was on the field. Yeah, that was good, really good. He made the most out of it. But also you got to look at that Jets defense when you had the secondary the way they were playing to give enough time for the defensive line to get to the quarterback. That's something there. When you look at his ability to play the run, that has some serious questions for me. Zach Bond had a better grade PFF wise, and he got a greater run stoppage percentage as opposed to Huff, which kind of gave me. And the thing is, he's going to be on the field a lot more. You project him to be on the field a lot more. Is he able to give you the same amount of energy, the same amount of production over that time? On paper, it makes sense. He's a younger version. I mean, he's even said himself, he modeled his game, one of the players he modeled his game after was Hassan Reddick. So that works out nice, but it's still a big gamble. You haven't seen him over that longer period of time being on the field. So I have a lot of reservations about this signing. And even to me, even if push comes to shove, if somebody said, Chris, you're GM right now, would you have signed up? I probably would have said no. And I probably would have got to Reddick, and I'm playing the leverage game and say, hey, worst case scenario, okay, yeah, you can come back, and then we may put the franchise tag on you, and we'll work out an extension that way too. Probably wouldn't like it, but try to work something out. So it's a big gamble by Howie with that Huff signing. The biggest gamble, I think, of all the signings he made this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably Huff has to be the biggest one. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, Saquon's been hurt. I'm like, stop playing with me, dude. He's a difference maker. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I think, the other signings, the wide receivers, I think, shores up that slot position where we were always waiting for Quez to become this guy that he just wasn't for whatever reason. And you bring in Zacchaeus last season, who was serviceable at times. You haven't. It's really weird. We're breaking down this team, and we're upset about the slot wide receiver position. where you go back 10 years, we were begging for a star receiver, and we got two of them.
Yeah, it's crazy how this works. And you know what? For more I look at the numbers from last year, I wouldn't be surprised if you see more Devontae Smith in the slot. He had so much success in there last year because he had over 100. Jalen Hurts had over 100 quarterback rating when throwing his direction there. We know the type of route runner that Devontae Smith is, and I wouldn't be surprised if, say, Kellen Moore puts him in that late motion, starting outside, or put him in a bunch formation right before the snap, move him in a little bit more to give him a free start and do his thing. I can see that. I can see Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker when outside. I can still see him draft another receiver, maybe somebody with more kick return experience. Put him back there as well too. So you're rolling with 5 or 6 wide receivers, including Britton Covey too. Yeah, I think you have a decent core here. Might be one of those things where you say, you know what, load up on the offense. This is what we're going to do. We're going to jump out on teams early. Defense, just hold on.
And that's going to get into the next thing. I think with this rule change that just happened with the silly hip drop thing is going to change a lot of how the game is played. So why not just load up on playmakers or guys that are just burners and just see if you can run people right off the field?
When the hip drop thing, I was in that meeting. I was in the press conference when they announced it. They finally had a special, and when Rich McKay, the competition committee lead chairman, he came out and talking. I will say this: he brought up an interesting point where even when you look at when you look at back when they did the horse collar, it was called, but it wasn't called as frequently. I think maybe the preseason they do it where they put it as a point of emphasis. They tell the guys look for this, and then the regular season rolls around, it comes happen. It's going to get called. I think it was only if there's if there's a receiver breaking up the sidelines, one man to beat, and they solve something, they do that. I think that's the situation where you see it called. I don't know how much you'll see it regularly go. I don't think they're going to call it like every. It becomes like holding where you see like 5 or 6 hip drop tackles are called. And that teams are going to adjust. So, I forget who posted this online, and I apologize, but the only time I can see it really becoming a factor, and they put that scenario out there to kind of kill me, if Patrick Mahomes is going in on the final, like on the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden that hip drop comes into play because there's an incomplete pass. Oh no, the defensive edge rush.
They did the Titans and Rams Super Bowl when
Tyson
got hip drop tackled on the 1 yard line.
London Fletcher.
To stop them from winning the Super Bowl. Now we go back in time. Well, I guess now the Rams didn't win that Super Bowl, and it would have been the Titans winning the Super Bowl.
We're going to get to the point where we go back in my day. I remember we tackled just to tackle. We didn't have the hip drop without
to protect the athletes. I just don't. I'm just with a lot of people. I just don't want you to change how the game is played and not have it affect outcomes of games. And I think that's something I think everyone would get behind.
And that's why I kind of wish it was. I think it was a proposal last year, not the one that the Lions had, where if you get a successful one, you get a third. I think it was last year. I know they talk about time and pace and everything else, but I think it was the Colts who put it up there, that every penalty is reviewable. And it checks it that way too, like almost like a quick spot.
Play should be that the NFL point blanket period should review every single play, and if there's something that's not called or that is called, that they could just say, like, wait, stop, we missed something.
And that's what they said they and that's what Kay brought up as well too. They're, from the sound of it, they're not going to go with Sky Judge because they don't want that one too, but they may do the quick reviews like we've seen somebody like they do, like somebody say complete that ball to the ground before somebody calls challenges, like, oh, upon further review, that one too when they had the replay for. So I think you'll see more stuff like that. But when it comes to somebody actually calling a penalty or overturning a penalty like that one, I think they're just going to stick with what they have on the officials look at. They really want that. I think
that penalties should be reviewable just because integrity of the game, man. We've been, with everything that's going on, betting in sports and things of that nature, and a lot of people have been sitting there for more than a handful. NFL's rigged. It's predetermined. It's WWE. There's all kinds of, like, listen, let's just give these people less of a ledge to stand on and just chop it all out.
Yep. And I can see certain penalties like pass interference. We tried that, and look how well that went.
Seriously, it could go either way on any given play. It could be defensive pass interference in a given play. It could be offensive pass. We could sit there and argue that all day long. We could sit there and nitpick at it all day.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things, great. Like, you got to let the game be played, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to. Sometimes some of the penalties are a little aggressive. So they go to, there needs to be tweaks to the system. Some of the replay stuff I think should be tweaked, but you need 24. That's the biggest problem for seeing any of this stuff. You need 24 owners to agree with it. And good luck trying to get a lot of owners to agree on anything. So somebody probably won't go, you see, like, we want to change the hip or the player safety for the kickoff? Why are you doing that? Well, it says that we're kind of in more of these injuries. It means you got to pay more insurance out. You got to pay these people on the roster or something. Oh, it costs more? Oh, change it. You got to change that one. That's the only time you can get owners to it. You can make money? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I think that's where it's like, wait, these injuries are resulting in more premiums and everything else? Oh, we got to change that. No, we can't do that. So see more of that.
I like the new kickoff rule because it gives opportunities for returners to actually have return, and the way it's been done. Like some things actually make sense and try to involve things, and I think doing it that way, hopefully, we won't see 90% touchbacks.
Don't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if teams did this, because I was actually at an event working on a story right now. I was at an event up in North Jersey at William Patterson University today, and apparently this before even the XFL had it, this has been used over in the European leagues. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these successful teams coaches are reaching out to those guys, see how they got already. They're talking to one player who we'll read about later on. Got 4 tackles in the game just because he's wiggled around just to know. It's like, oh, really? So I think there's ways to do about it. You can still balance the part of, okay, you can still get the return game, but you can also get guys who or really special these linebackers and DBs, they can showcase themselves and make themselves a lot of money when they get these tackles in his new system as well too.
It's definitely an interesting time, you know.
Yeah.
Now I guess we'll touch on this. Obviously, Kels leaving, Cox leaving. Obviously, now that there was one, Brandon Graham is the last remaining member of the Super Bowl team. But more importantly is, I think the leadership that you losing them two guys. I mean, obviously, it's going to be rough to replace, Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox just as football players on the field production wise. But I think, what they were in the locker room, what they meant to the other guys in that locker room, and things of that nature I think is going to want to be the hardest things to replace. Who are some of the guys you feel like is going to stand up and this is going to be our new Malcolm?
Well, I think a good thing is that they still have Lane and they still have Brant BG, because at least that can help you with the transition of, hey, we've gone through this as captains. Expect this is what we've done. So I think that's key. So you got one on each side of the ball. That's good. I wouldn't be surprised if offensively you see more Landon Dickerson. You see more, and the name I've heard a lot is Jordan Mailata. Those two guys especially can do that. Jalen Hurts, undoubtedly, you need your quarterback to continue to be the voice and be the leader and the one putting everybody in the right direction. And then the name I keep hearing as well too is Saquon. I think Saquon's like, from the time when he was at Giants, he was actually one of their best leaders in there. So that's another reason why the Giants have a loss, because he's the one that can go out in front of the media, take the bullets from us, and ask the questions well too, and shield some of these guys that don't want to talk. Like, he goes out there, he's done a good job of that. So offensively, sake, those guys there. Defensively, I think you look at defensive play caller and everything else. Nakobe Dean, I think this is one of his times to really step up. Everybody talks about how great of a leader he was when he was at Georgia. Now it's time to translate that to the NFL. So that's one guy there. Darius Slay in the defensive back room, he still is very. We all know Slay's. We all know he's very vocal. We all know he's vocal that one too. But he still does a good job. The defensive backs always talk about the way he does that. So that one name that I thought that was very interesting that Howie brought up when we were talking again was Jordan Davis. He brought him up because he said I'm quoting it, he said Jordan Davis he was told that Jordan Davis should be on the Mount Rushmore in Georgia, not only for his play on the field, but his leadership in the locker room. And getting to talk to him, like when we were talking to him at that, and when they were cleaning out their lockers, and you're telling you hear the way he do it, you get the feel. You can see he gets that passion, he gets that emotion there. He's not only when he was talking about Fletcher when he was leaving and the impact he had on him, but overall what he saw from his team, you can see that too. You can see the elements there. It's a matter of you have to be there to be able to be there on the field to be able to share that leadership role and in the locker room too. So those are a few of the guys that get that too. So yeah, there's a lot of you still have AJ Brown, you still have Devontae Smith. They're still doing everything as captains too. So there's a lot of young guys here. There's over 30 did the count? There's over 30 captains that were guys on this team that were either captains on the college team or in the pros as well too. That's even going down through some of these practice squad guys and futures guys they have there. So there's not a lack of leadership. It's a matter of, hey, who's going to be able to get their voice loud through, and who's going to be willing to listen as well too. That's the biggest thing. You can say all you want to, but if nobody's willing to follow you, good luck.
Yeah, right. I think you just hit the most important part of that, man. Like a lot of guys want to be leaders, and they want to have the loudest voice in the room. But sometimes it ain't about being the loudest voice; it's just letting it all be heard, and then say what needs to be said at the right time.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, because sometimes you lead by example. Yeah, you lead by example. Okay, you do that. I think sometimes, even my playing days, just hearing that stuff, some of the most effective leaders were the guys who are really quiet. But when push came to shove, all of a sudden, if they started talking, their voice came out. It was like, whoa, okay, this is supposed to be big enough. Like, this must be serious. Like, okay, cool. So you can have guys that are just like say if it's Jail, like Jail's gonna talk every week, but say if he was like one of those things where it's real quiet. Hey, yo, listen. And everybody hears up like, oh, he's talking? Okay, cool. It has to be somebody who does very well on the field. So that you need those type of guys as well too. So it's just finding that, striking that right balance and being able, just Sirianniism, connecting, being able to talk to everybody and relate to everybody else.
All I know is I'm never gonna forget Fletch's exit interview with them. Basically, them sitting there, tearing him apart, sitting there saying, like, well, "What about you think they're gonna fire Nick?" And he was like, "What?" Huh?
Oh,
What are we
yeah.
talking about? Get out of here, man. Like,
That was a
listen.
Fletcher. That was a Fletcher Cox availability. That encompassed, even as the last one, that encompassed so much about. It's like that seeing what happened in the locker room this year and everything. See that last one too. Yeah, that encompasses time to be talking to us. It's like, oof. Okay, too. It's a good day. Oh no, it's not a good day.
It definitely wasn't a good day for Fletch, man. He was having none of anyone's BS that day. He was like,
No, he
no,
was not.
today.
No, it was it was a smiling Fletch going through the locker room. We saw that. I was like, uh oh.
Like, all right, let's make a beeline to the other
Yeah,
side of the room,
like
guys.
here we go. Like it's gonna be like we'll stay in there. We'll stay in there because I'll say this. Fletch was very good with us, talking to us and shared his insight and everything else. But if you knew like somebody was salting his weeds or whatever or what have you, and you saw that, or if he knew he wanted to get something off his chest, he had that look in his eyes like something's about to go down today. Somebody's gonna one of us is gonna get hit with it. This is one of those things like, oh no. So it's unfortunate, like I'm glad I can get hit with those, but you could tell there's like somebody's gonna get hit with one of these answers. It's like, there we go. And then you see it's like,
now, obviously,
sorry,
there's not a whole lot of fanfare around Fletch's leaving, but Jason, he has been courted on every part of his retirement that possibly could be. ESPN wants him to do Monday Night Football. Obviously, there's been rumors that the Eagles also offered him a contract to, stay around and be in the front office, things of that nature.
CBS
Have
has
you
one
ever
out.
remember a Philadelphia athlete leaving and still being this well received, this well loved, not just here, just nationally?
Not so much that when he did national media or got those offers, but AI I think still has that draw. I think Allen Iverson still has that draw a little bit. Other than that, it's really tough to come by. I'm thinking like I'm thinking baseball wise, and yeah, you're
Schmidt,
not
but
like
he wasn't loved here or nationally.
like yeah. Dalton, see,
I mean, he's the
Dalton was
only one I
kind
can
of
think of.
Dalton was kind of because he helped the Florida Marlins win that World Series, and he was loved here. But that's the only baseball I can think of. And then hockey, Lindros had that. Lindros and Leclerc had
He
that
had that
ability,
aura,
but
but it was gone
it
with
didn't bad. Yeah,
his dad ruined that. Let's just be clear. His
yeah.
dad ruined that.
See, and I get mad when I see Peter Forsberg what he did with Colorado, and then he came back here. He was decent that time, and then it wasn't the same like he was that way. That still bites me every to this day. And nah. Other than that, it's Hextall had that shot too because I thought he was really good
But he
front
went to
office guy before he
Pittsburgh is
came here.
another one that ruined it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he before he got here, it was like, all right, it's good. And then when you saw him in his gym, it was like, oh no, what are you? No, what are you doing? So yeah, it's tough to find those guys. It really is. And he's really in rare air. Kelsey's really in rare air right now. Deservedly so, yo. Open guy, funny guy, multi-layered, and everybody loves him around this area. So yeah, it's just so I
He's
think he
basically
laid the
the Burt
blueprint for everybody.
Kreischer of the NFL.
Yeah, he laid the blueprint for how to play in Philadelphia. He really truly laid the blueprint down there. So yeah, it's
His
be weird
story
to
is
not see
he's
him anymore.
dead on. Like, dude, we did not want him here after 2016. We didn't.
Yeah.
They were trying to find ways to get him out of here,
Yep.
and it just all came together, man.
It was crazy that to see that and him not being able to for him to come back and still embrace the city because BG too. Because the way BG was almost running out of town too. And you see these guys that are able to like pass it off, still believe in themselves and still play at a high level. Yeah, that was great. That was great.
Everyone didn't love Fletch either, man. Like, he started off as a DE, they wound up moving him inside. Just like everything was like a lot of those guys that were drafted from those mid teens wound up finding a ways to make it last. Between Jason, Fletch, and BG, man, that's special longevity in this city, man.
You don't hit that. You don't see that many teams to be able to hit on guys not only just as players and their ability on the field, but off the field. And yeah,
I think it's one of
was
the main reasons I was upset about Man of the Year this year. Just I felt that Lane's cause just deserved to be put in the forefront.
It deserved it. It's tough because a lot of times they want someone like a quarterback or guy who does all that stuff. And Lane said that he's gotten around nationally and everything else like that. I thought he deserves it one of these years, but it's especially when he put it up against who it is. Like when they put you up, when they put Lane against Dak or the BG against Dak, it's like, oh, you know what's going on this one. When you put him against other some of these guys, the place guys you see are like the league commercials and all stuff. It's like, yeah, good luck. Like you're nominated, but good luck when it comes to some of this stuff.
Yeah, but you had guys like J.J. Watt won it multiple years in a row.
Yeah, it's
like that's where it's like what goes into some of these things, because you do actually want to see some of these causes kind of get a light shed on having an entity like the NFL behind it. That's why you do this stuff.
And that's why I'm glad I'm glad they at least put the 32 nominees out there, because if they just kept saying like we have if they just said, okay, we're just going to announce the man of the year and just went directly announce it to honors or what have you, that was like, oh, that's great. I like the fact that they actually do let these guys get some shine. All 32 teams give those guys those shines, like, hey, they're working behind the scenes, or because there's some causes you don't know, like, oh wow, this person's doing this. All right, this was a good thing. You see, we see the list of that. It's like, wow, it's cool. There's so much. As much as we rip on these guys for their play on the field or what have you, that there's a lot of good that's going on off the field and stuff like that. So much stories we can't even. We just don't have time to tell because, well, what do you know? The Eagles make another. Well, there's so much stuff that these guys do. It's great. Not just, and that's just on Lane. This is a lot of guys in his locker rooms. Even though, say what you will about Quez, he had a foundation he was starting that was done really good. You saw AJ Brown. He comes out with his own. He's really starting with his own foundation now. There's a lot of guys on this team do a lot. There's the Autism Foundation stuff that too do. So they're good, decent guys.
And it's hard to get it all out there too, Chris. Man, like AJ Brown, did football camp last year. I think he's doing another one this year.
Yep.
Devontae Smith is doing a football camp on top of the softball thing that he's now making an annual event and things of that nature. There's so much stuff that just in our own city that we don't know about some of our athletes, regardless if we're talking Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, whatever it may be. And it's one of the things, like I said, Walter Payton Man of the Year should actually mean something. And I agree that it's good that they're letting it out there that, this is the Cardinals, nominee this year, and his charity is XYZ. And this is what they like. I think, you should, it means something. And back to what we were talking about leaders. When you steal Saquon as another Walter Payton man of the year, like it's a special locker room that this team has. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out this year. Are you going above 10 wins this season, or do you think a little bit of parity and not going to be as high up on that win total?
Right now, before seeing how their schedule shakes down, I think they're above more of a 10-win team. If you go off of chalk about how there's not been a repeat team to win the division, I'd probably say they're the favorite to do that. So I probably put them there. But I'm sorry, getting back to the whole softball thing. You just brought up a good point. And I think I'm going to do this when I cover it again this year. Come to think of it, the last 2 games they've signed somebody who's been on the opposing team. Terrell Edmonds, the first year, was on the opposing team signs for the Eagles. Saquon Barkley was on the opposing team that against Devontae, signs here. So Kane coming back? Is it someone else? There's too many guys on the usually play the opposing team. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, cool. So, and miraculously, they signed with the Eagles. I'm just saying. Maybe there's a big name that's coming the following year after that. But yeah, it's get back to the other thing. But yeah, 10 wins. Right now, I think if they're not a 10-win team, I think nobody on the staff is coming back.
We have a problem,
nobody on the coaching staff. Yeah, 10 wins, and if they don't get at least 10,
you got to think about it. This whole picture, regardless of the epic collapse, that has to be the worst collapse I've seen as an adult, as a Philadelphia Eagle team, being that good, falling that hard, that fast.
That was our 64 Phillies
in my adult life. Then you get a Saquon Barkley. You go and fill some of the holes on the offensive line. You get a Zach Bond. You go get a Devin White. You bring C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. You keep Sweat. You extend Reed Blankets. If you do things of that nature, hopefully the next extension should say Devontae Smith on it. But that's just me personally. Don't want him to get too far into this 5th-year option and see what we can do with that. But you do all these things and then you go and bring in a Vic Fangio. You bring in a Kellen Moore. You literally fixed everything that both outwardly and inwardly you think that's going on wrong with this team. Obviously, I think they should be above 10 wins, but you don't want to sit like you said. You don't know how the schedule works out. You know things of that nature. Obviously, we're kicking off the year in Brazil against Cleveland. Should be a much better team over there. Obviously, they bring in a guy like Jerry Jeudy to go pair along with Cooper over there. Should be fun to see what Cleveland does over there because they got a good team over there. And they were what? They were basically a playoff team last year, right?
Yeah.
With a backup quarterback.
And you got to factor in too when you look at the Eagles. They're not playing a first place schedule this year. That factors in too. You got the Cowboys got to play the first place teams anybody else. If this team doesn't, especially playing a second place schedule, teams like the Falcons, and you look at everybody else, like you should win this game. You should win 10 wins at least. If you don't get 10 wins, and you don't make it, if you don't get 10 wins and you don't make a run, like I would say this: if there's 10 wins, they better make it to at least a conference championship game and maybe a Super Bowl. That's the only way I think you see this coaching staff back. If they get 10 wins, get bounced in the division,
they're out. The revenge tour, my friend. That's exactly what. If I'm in that building, that's exactly how I'm saying this is the revenge tour, guys. We have unfinished business. We were on the cusp of it. We fell. We're picking ourselves back up, and guess what? Everyone in this room should be pissed off that we don't have a ring on our finger right now.
Yep,
that's what I would do if I'm in the building.
There's no Sirianni's
got everything now.
This is a big year for Sirianni in terms of leading these guys and just in terms of making sure everybody talks about they like him, they like his messaging and everything else. Now's a chance to turn things around and use that. If anything, you use what happened last year to be a motivating factor to make sure you stop everything. That's the main thing, the key thing they got to do.
But I think that's what all these guys tend to do well is that when things do go wrong, they tend to dust themselves off, and that's their motivation, and they come back stronger and better. And Jalen Hurts is one of them guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's interesting to see. I think you see some of these guys there. I think that the way they happened left a bad taste in their mouth. But I think overall, when you look, this is where when you draft these guys, when you sign these guys, when you do your character, as much as you do your on the field stuff, that's where the key things when it comes to character development and your character evaluations come into play. Because you got a bunch of quitters, who knows? You just don't start their season the right way of 4 games. You go, like, I'm not saying that. Like, I will see. I can't wait. That's why I can't wait till the schedule comes out. Like, hate this time of year. It's right before the draft, and we still don't know what they're playing. But like, come on, guys. But yeah, I think that's really key.
We're still 2.5, 3 weeks away from the draft, and we're chomping at the bit to see how everything's going to shake out, man.
Like, come on, guys.
I mean, I think it's going to be a fun season, regardless of who your team is. I think a lot of teams got better across the board. Like you said, the free agency created a lot of parity this year. At AFC East is going to be interesting. Will the Dolphins continue to and the Bills continue to lead that division with an iron fist, or will the Jets challenge them? Is kind of really the question, and we don't know what you're going to get from the Patriots. Obviously, whole new regime things of that nature. But I mean, it's one of the things looking from outside looking in. I mean, you think Miami and Buffalo, are kind of the favorites there, but what the Jets did this offseason, man, you can't. They fixed a lot of things on the offensive line on top of getting a Hassan Reddick and things of that nature. It's going to be interesting. I think all across the board, regardless of what division, who's your team, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, we could pick things apart and sit there and say this is a bottom tier team or whatever, but there's still, if you're a fan looking at it, there's something to be excited about coming into this season.
That AFC North too. Look at the AFC North. When you look at Baltimore adding Derrick Henry, you got the Browns improving. You got the Steelers, getting Russell Wilson. and a new
And they get Patrick
other
Queen.
fans.
Everyone keeps forgetting about that. They get Patrick
Yeah.
Queen, and Cordell Patterson is arguably one of the most dangerous returnmen in the league.
You get those, and you got the AFC North and AFC East. Those divisions are going to be war. The West, I don't think as much. In the South can be a war too. I think between with the Texans and the Colts. I think that Texans Colts rivalry is going to be good for the next few years just because of the quarterbacks they have. So yeah, this AFC is
Anthony Richardson should be fun, right?
AFC is murder. The Eagles better be glad they're in the NFC because that's murderer's row over there in that other conference. They need to take advantage of it.
The running backs finding new homes. I mean, listen, it's going to be a fun time. Fantasy owners are going to be happy. I believe this year.
Yep, that was crazy.
Now, if you're doing something with defenses, they're probably the only ones that are scratching their heads right now because, like I said, the rule changed. But as we're gonna wrap this one up, Chris, I guess your final thoughts and let everyone know where they can find you and your work and things of that nature, my friend.
Well, first off, Steve, thank you so much for having me back, man. It was a lot of fun on there. I guess the final thoughts to say is buckle up. I mean, you got a lot of this draft. I think you see the Eagles. I think you see them very active.
I still think Howie's not done. I feel another trade coming.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's more picks involved. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move. I wouldn't be surprised if one more move's made of significance. And I'm not talking about oh my gosh, they traded for Amari Cooper. I think it's gonna be. I'm sure it was. I think it's defensive side. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they make one trade, even not so much as like a blockbuster trade.
What's it gonna take to get Patrick Surtain here? People tend to forget he still needs a contract if you do that.
It's going to take a lot. And that's why I wonder why if they're keeping some of the salary cap room to roll over for next year because you got to pay all these people. So you got to look at that. But I think
they're only. That's the problem. Is next year you got all this money this year. Next year, Jalen's number goes up, AJ's number goes. A lot of these guys'
base goes up. Yep, everybody's base numbers get significantly better this year. You got everybody on one. We got most of the guys on 1 million.
Jalen under he doesn't even get paid $15 million this year if memory serves me.
Yeah, and everything jumps. Yeah, everything jumps up. So, yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with all that numbers. But I think you'll see a very.
I love to have Patrick Surtain here. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's gonna make your cornerback room good for the next 5 to 10 years. But you gotta pay the guy, dude, and you already had you have money tied up there that you're not going to be able to free up over the next 3 years. It's not going to happen.
And you need to draft assets to trade for it too. And you look at next year, they already don't have a fourth. You need some of these guys. You need some of these younger guys to come in and step up, so that way you don't have to keep going out free agency and throwing big money around. So, yeah, it's a tough thing. You think
guys like Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks are going to play significant roles this year?
It's tough because right now, off the top of my head, I think 7 or 8 corners that you have on that team. It's somebody might get cut. Somebody that might be before camp's over, do you trade somebody just because you have so much depth there? It's tough to tell. Not Ringo so much as opposed to Race. Ringo's a 4th round pick. Fortunately, when you go to look at that, you usually go to the undrafted guys. So Isaiah Rodgers, when he eventually comes back, he's going to factor a role. If they take a guy in the draft, they're going to factor he's going to play a role. You still got. And people still
remember Vontae Maddox is coming back at some point.
I don't know because you look at the I don't know. They got so many defensive guys
in contact with each other, and he hadn't been entertaining contracts because he already said he's coming back here. I don't know if
I look at that
waiting. I don't know what's going on.
The money they have, the money is a matter of how they structure it, and do you put them? If anything. Do you play him more at safety this year? I know, you play him more at the CJ/GJ role. Hey, you can go into the slot if you need to, but you play safety. I just look at how many corners they have, and it's tough to get time for all of them. Now, maybe does somebody get my knee really hurts right before the season starts, and they sandbag it? Who knows? But it's rough. But it's funny, especially the other day. Wow, somebody's limping around a lot. Really? It's just what happens before the day of that one too. You were running around fine and you were quasi on a bubble. Oh, ow, I pulled my hammy. Pupless, huh? Wow, yeah, I think so. Right, okay.
Yeah,
There's some
I mean
interesting
it's going to be
injuries.
a fun one. Buckle up is kind of what I would say you would say for everyone this season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be full of ups and downs. Hopefully our birds are sitting pretty at the end. That's kind of everyone's expectation at this point in time. And you know, I mean, you weren't going to say. I think anything less than 12 wins is a disappointment, and a long playoff run. We already know what the expectation is. Uh, we you know we've seen what this team can do. We know what they're capable of. This team is definitely capable of putting up 30 points and putting quarterbacks on their back at least 3 to 4 times a game. I think that our
Yes.
biggest thing that we lost from last season, that was our biggest. It wasn't just covering. Our biggest thing was getting turnovers, and now getting the ball back. We gave it up more than we got it back. And if you look from the season before when we went to the Super Bowl, C.J. Gardner Johnson was another one of those guys that was a part of that. But they were after the ball, and they gotten the ball in short fields, and that's how they were able to beat up on teams. Like, I think if this defense is going to be like that it should be for a fun season. And we might have a parade. We might have a long playoff run. I can't say for sure what it's going to be, but it should be a fun one.
Yeah, I just need to see a schedule. For me, it's all about like where that bye week is. I wouldn't be surprised if that Monday night game. See, the thing with me is like, okay, you go to Brazil. I wouldn't be surprised if week 2 is a Monday night game. Who's that matchup, and then who you're playing on that short week? That's a tough 3 weeks. 'Cause to me, it's the Browns. To me, this whole it could be the Packers. Not to me, it's the Browns because you can't give you if you put the Packers, you're potentially putting a important tiebreaker on the table at a neutral field instead of you trying to give a team who's going international. You kind of want to like not inconvenience them too much, especially if they're losing a home game. That's why. And the Browns player said it was the Browns too. So this one, like, come on. So you got a tough first game against probably the Browns. Then you come back Monday night, either in Philly, probably maybe, and then you got a short week against whoever's in week 3. You got to make sure you watch out
I
who's in
think
week
what it
3.
is, I think what it is we do get that road game that it's our home game. I don't
Yeah,
think we
that's
come. I don't think we come back until week 4 until we're home. I think.
I don't know because I think the one time they want to. They try to, especially with these international games, they try not to give you too much. Maybe they give a little bit of an edge, not like a significant, like, since you're doing this, we'll make sure you have this, this, and this. Maybe you give like I
I think
think
the only
maybe
thing
week
they're going to
2.
give us is after the Thursday night game, we're going to get a Monday night game.
Oh, please no! Oh, please no! I can't do any more prime times like last year. I can't stay up till 2 or
That was
3
rough.
o'clock in
It
the
was like
morning.
we had like almost every prime time game for
4
like.
Monday night games. 4. Like, come on, like, and I'm counting Christmas in that. But like, come on, guys, like 4? No, enough. No more. I can't take it. But yeah, it's been fun.
Well, you're the one that works. And what do you prefer? Are you a 1 p.m. start?
1 p.m.
Are
Sundays
you
are
a 4:25 or what?
one. A reporter's dream is 1 p.m. Sunday because you still can go to Sunday dinner or at least see your people awake on Sunday night. Because if you go 4:25, we're normally not getting out there till like 11 o'clock ish. Getting transcribed and all that stuff. 8 o'clock, yeah, you're probably not going home till about like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. At least for me, anyway. And Sundays, at least if I go in 1, at least I get back home around 8 o'clock. So, and you can still watch the Sunday night game too. So, Sundays and 1s are a reporter's best friend. No Thursdays too. Thursdays see Monday. So yeah. Although you get the Friday, you get the weekend to go wrap around. But nah. Sunday at 1 is perfect. And you probably won't get that many again this year. Oh, just fun.
We'll see how it all plays out. I'm definitely excited. For draft coming up. I don't know if I completely agree with you that it'll just be picks. I do think there's a player going to be involved in somehow we magic. It is not going to be Patrick Surtain, Eagles fans. Get it out your head. You not only you have to trade for him, you're going to have to pay him, and it's going to be an issue here in the next 2 years. You already have Bradbury locked up. You already have Slay locked up. You have a good cornerback room. You're not going to go and make a move off of that right now. But let's let's see what it's going to be. I think me and Chris are both in agreement. Offensive lineman is what you're going to see come off the board first for the Philadelphia Eagles. Should be a fun draft. It's going to be a fun season coming on. Like he said, buckle up. It's going to be an interesting one. Last thoughts before we end this one, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's good talking to you as always. I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
It's always a pleasure, Chris. You know, keep doing your thing. Keep the articles coming. Keep the content coming. Always love seeing your work come out, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was the one and only Christopher Franklin, Eagles beat reporter for NewJersey.com. Always fun catching up with him, picking his brain, seeing where he has our Eagles at right now. Other than that, that should put a bow on this afternoon's episode. It should air within the next day or two. Guys, make sure you guys are locked in on all our social media platforms. Subscribed on YouTube, and I'll be back Thursday night for that would be Miss Jessica Borga, BKFC featherweight. She's going to be making her second fight here in the next few days. Other than that, Eagles fans, fly Eagles fly. Let's do this thing, and I will catch you guys here back with Luther in the next few days. Peace out, everyone.